Thank you for joining us and welcome to Text Messages Resurrected. I'm the Parasite Rick Tex. We're glad to have you joining us once again this evening, February 19, 2019. And we got a very important topic to discuss today, so we won't do any on-air production meeting. What we want to talk about today is the stomach. The stomach is on about the right side of your body, right behind your rib cage. It's so when you first chew on food, your saliva starts to break it down. And then you swallow it and it goes through the esophagus and then through a sphincter into your stomach. So your stomach is probably about the third step of the digestive process. The chewing is actually considered the first. The esophagus, where the muscle contracts and it squeezes it down, is the second. Then your stomach is the third, which is what we'll be discussing today. So the stomach, it's sort of a J-shaped. It's like a jelly bean kind of, a lot bigger. About 6 inches in size. A stomach can fit anywhere from 1 liter to about 4 liters of food. So, since this is the United States, we know more gallons than liters. A liter is about a fourth of a gallon. So, probably the maximum amount of food that a normal human being could hold in their stomach, and this includes liquids and everything, is probably a gallon. Oh yeah, you get the people that can eat 50 hot dogs, and their stomach is obviously a lot more malleable than the average person. So we won't really speak to that. No. Okay, so the stomach is on the left side of the upper abdomen. I think I probably said right side, but it is on the left side of the upper abdomen. So the food goes from the esophagus into the stomach through the lower esophageal sphincter. It's basically just a valve that opens and closes. It has muscle contractions that surround it. The pyloric sphincter is a muscular valve that releases food into the small intestine. So between your stomach is surrounded by those two valves that determine whether to let food in and then let food out. And when it lets it out, it gets into the duodenum, into the small intestine, which is the duodenum is the first step of the small intestine. So what the stomach does is it secretes acid and enzymes to digest food. It actually secretes the hydrochloric acid. And that serves as a couple of functions too. It serves to help eliminate pathogens, bacteria, bad bacteria, diseases, things of that nature. And your stomach has all the necessary ingredients to break down, at least not fully, but to begin breaking down protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Now the stomach breaks down mostly the proteins. That's its main focus. And the muscles, it works in both a mechanical and chemical way, because the muscles contract mechanically to churn food, and then those mix it up with the hydrochloric acid and the other enzymes to essentially break down these foods into particles that can get in your bloodstream, and then your body can go ahead and utilize that for the energy in the cells that it needs it at. So when you hear about people doing growth hormone and things like that, yeah, it actually increases the cells of your stomach, because your stomach, your esophagus, your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, these are all muscular organs, and your heart. So they all continue to grow as other parts of your body grow too. And when you exercise them more, they will probably, the cells will get bigger themselves, but when you actually take the growth hormones, then the number of cells increases. That's why you see some of the bodybuilder guys that take a lot of growth hormone and they look like they're pregnant, because their insides are growing as well. Now, there are a few ailments to the stomach. One of them is acid reflux, which can also cause heartburn. So what happens there is if you eat foods that cause your stomach either to create a lot of acid or a little acid, sort of you get it out of balance. The sphincter, the lower esophageal sphincter, that may open up and then some of the acid will come back. See, when you vomit, for example, you're vomiting, it's food that's already gotten in your stomach and you're up chugging it, or you're vomiting it back up. So all of the stomach acids, obviously not to a high enough magnitude to completely burn a hole through your esophagus, but some of your stomach acids diluted are being expelled from your mouth when you're vomiting. That's why when people vomit, it's generally not a good idea to eat too soon after that, because your body doesn't have the acid and it needs to build up the inner layer within the stomach. So the acid reflux is one ailment. And then there's dyspepsin, which is indigestion. So if you're eating too many fats or something, you're not breaking it all down. So that just means that you're just not creating a good balance for your body to break down. Because if you eat a good balance of carbohydrates, proteins, and fat, which is mostly low carbohydrates and good amount of protein and good amount of fat, then it'll be an ideal environment for your stomach to begin to break down. And yeah, it prefers to break down the protein. So it's all about having things in balance. Another ailment is ulcer. Ulcer is an erosion in the stomach lining. It can oftentimes be caused by steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs or Helicobacter pylori infection. Gastritis, which, like we said, anything with itis in it is inflammatory. So it's inflammation brought on by medication or alcohol. Then you have gastroparesis, which is nerve damage, which causes impaired muscle contractions. And it can ultimately lead to nausea and vomiting. So a lot of times if you feel like your stomach is full or if parts of your intestines aren't quite working out, or if you feel like maybe there's something stuck in there, sometimes you can agitate it yourself just by pushing on it. That definitely helps along, because that's basically all. I mean, it's not all your stomach is doing, but it's part of what your stomach is doing, the muscle contractions. So if you manually push it yourself, you're mechanically helping it along. I mean, there have been occasional times where it feels like, there's a rock in my intestines or small intestine, large intestine, colon, or stomach, whatever. So yeah, you just squeeze it push on it for a little while, sort of agitate it, massage it, or whatever. And then, I mean, it doesn't go away instantly, but you can definitely feel like something is going on there. Sometimes it feels like it does give you a sensation that you might vomit too. So it's a good idea to listen to your body and to determine whether you're doing things that maybe you shouldn't be doing. So the stomach wall, it has a sticky mucus, and it's there to neutralize the acid, because if the acid makes contact with your stomach and then you have the ulcers, then it gets into other parts of your body. It's going to wreak havoc and cause enormous amounts of damage. So the body is very finicky. It has a lot of isolated componentry, but I mean, everything is interconnected. The nervous system communicates with everything. The exocrine system, is connected to all these ducts to the stomach and the sinuses and skin and ears and all that. So the acid destroys the microbacteria. And it also produces substances necessary to break down vitamin B12, which is known as the glycoprotein. Now, the stomach can store food, but it generally takes about up to 6 hours for complete digestion. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that eating 6 hours is an optimal strategy. Sometimes the stomach may prefer being empty, so then it can do some maintenance, regenerate the mucus layer around it, which the stomach regenerates the mucus layer generally every 2 weeks. Fresh layer is laid down in there. So I mean, as far as what goes in there, what energy expenditure is needed is unknown at the time, but certainly something to consider. So if you periodically every 2 or 3 weeks got a sore stomach for whatever the reason, it probably has something to do with regenerating the mucus layer around it. So some of the things that could upset the acid in your stomach or to increase it: spicy foods, mints, chocolate, caffeine, alcohol, and citrus fruits. And the stomach has about 15 layers. The stomach layer has 15 layers. The outside of the stomach. We're not really going to get into all of them. It gets rather complex and complicated. Even with pictures and imagery, it still doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So yeah, it breaks down protein, and it uses the pepsin enzyme, which digests only protein, and requires. The reason why it does that is because the pepsin enzyme requires an acidic medium for optimum action, and it also releases gastric hormone, so it works in the endocrine system as well. That is more of a hunger suppressant, or signals that it's empty and ready to be fed. So your stomach, like every other organ, is working in conjunction with the endocrine system. Now, what we want to talk about that is vitally important, though, is stomach acid. So there are a few signs of low stomach acid. Some of them being frequent gas or belching, acid reflux, bloating or cramping, bad breath, body odor, undigested food in fecal matter, aversion to meat. White meat actually requires less stomach acid than red meat. So if you feel better after eating white meat, like fowl meat, chicken, turkey, pheasant, as opposed to red meat, cow, lamb, sheep, then there is a potential that you have lower stomach acid than the average person. Tired after meals, because what happens is if you require too much energy to digest the food, because the hydrochloric acid is just breaking down the food, and if you don't produce a lot of it, the energy is going to need to be input to the pancreas and the liver and to the small intestines and large intestines to break down the food even further. But if the hydrochloric acid can just break it down as much as possible, then the rest of your body can take over the rest of that functionality. Then you'll have more energy to do things you want to do. So another common sign of low stomach acid is you feel full yet hungry, so you're not absorbing adequate nutrients. Chronic anemia, which is basically low iron absorption. And weak fingernails and frequent nausea are also signs of low stomach acid. Now, there is a way that you can test for low stomach acid. And there's a lot of websites that bring this up. But what you can do is you can drink baking soda, about a quarter teaspoon, just mix it up in some water first thing in the morning. And the sodium bicarbonate in the baking soda is supposed to react with the hydrochloric acid to create carbon dioxide, like carbonated water. So when that reacts, it's supposed to create the belching effect within 3 minutes. And if it doesn't happen within 3 minutes, then you are led to believe that you have low stomach acid. Now, as you may or may not read, the test isn't perfect. One of the best ways to probably try to get an accurate reading is to do it consistently over a long period of time. And then on top of that, try to make changes to your stomach acid content. So one of the ways to improve stomach acid is to consume more liquid nutrition, ginger, to consume a lot of water, but not too close before and not too close after meals. And then to drink some apple cider vinegar, fermented food and drinks, and then to eat edible, I don't even know what that says, but yeah, there are certain ways to improve stomach acid. So usually if you want to do the baking soda test, test it over 3 months or so, and then try to utilize these tactics to improve your stomach acid content. So if you notice that you're belching sooner after 2 months consistently, then you know that you're probably increasing your stomach acid. But if you're belching later or not belching at all, then you're probably decreasing your stomach acid production. So that's why it's a good idea just to, nothing worth having ever comes easy. There's no test you can administer that's going to tell you with 100% accuracy that this works, this is right. The baking soda test over the course of 3 months while experimenting with improving or disproving your stomach acid is probably the most prudent strategy that I would recommend. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, now the stomach is critically important. It's the first step in the digestive system. It's basically the source of all your energy. Yeah, I guess technically your teeth and your esophagus are the first step and the stomach is the third. But the stomach is very important. And the pancreas is also important, kidneys, liver, they're all important. But if the stomach can produce a lot of acid to break down food, it takes the load off of every other system of your body. So having good stomach acid is very important. And like we said, a few things you can do to improve it. Liquid nutrition, ginger, water, not too close or not too close before or after meals, and apple cider vinegar, fermented food and drinks like kimchi is a fermented food, sauerkraut, kefir. So that's pretty much it. There's probably some other strategies too. Just being a healthy person makes a big difference. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much for joining us. And hopefully we'll be back tomorrow, God willing. And hopefully you'll be able to take the information you learned about the stomach and potentially make yourself great again. Thank you very much for watching. Without you, we are nothing.